U.S. forces in eastern Syria were targeted in a rocket attack in a tit-for-tat strikes between the U.S. and militia groups supported by Iran, the Pentagon said. In the attack, 10 rockets targeted coalition forces at the Green Village in northeast Syria, U.S. Central Command said in a news release. The strike did not cause damages or injuries to U.S. forces or their partners, the command said. But it added that one rocket landed nearly 5 kilometers off target, striking a civilian house, causing significant damage and causing minor injuries to 2 women and 2 children. Thursday's drone attack left one dead. The latest incident came just a day after a militia drone strike killed a U.S. contractor, injured 5 American service members, and wounded one another contractor in Syria, the Defense Department said. Intelligence sources say the drone, which struck a U.S. base near Hasaka, was made by Iran, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said in a statement. The drone in Thursday's deadly attack struck a maintenance facility at the base around 1:38 p.m. local time. Brigadier General Pat Ryder, the Pentagon press secretary, said at the news briefing Friday. It did not fire a weapon to my knowledge, he said. Asked on Friday how the drone was able to penetrate the site's defenses, Ryder refused to go into detail about the protections. He added, my understanding is that there was a complete site picture in terms of radar. The U.S. used F-15 fighter jets to retaliate. In response, the U.S. Central Command conducted precision airstrikes on groups it says were connected with Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. As President Joe Biden has made it clear, we will take all necessary measures to defend our people and will always respond at a time and a place of our choosing, Austin said. No group will strike our troops with impunity. Videos shared on social media showed explosions in Deir el-Zur, a Syrian province near the Iraq border that contains oil fields. That area is controlled by Iran-backed militia groups and Syrian forces, according to Associated Press, and has seen recent damage from suspected airstrikes by Israel, targeting alleged Iranian supply routes. In the U.S. strikes, Ryder said 2 Air Force F-15 fighter jets struck 2 Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps affiliated facilities at around 2:40 a.m. local time. Initial indications are that the facilities were destroyed, he said, adding that the U.S. is still assessing any potential militant casualties. The U.S. strikes killed 11 people, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, a group that monitors violence in the region with a network of local sources. 6 were Iranian-backed militants in a warehouse in the city. 2 were killed in the outskirts of surrounding town, Al Mayadeen. 3 others were killed in the surrounding desert. The number of fatalities is expected to rise as the strikes left several militiamen injured, some seriously, the group wrote online. Neither Iran nor Syria appear to immediately acknowledge the strikes. Speaking at a joint conference in Ottawa with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, President Biden said Friday, to make no mistake, the United States does not emphasize seek conflict with Iran, but be prepared for us to act forcefully to protect our people. That's exactly what happened last night. Ryder made similar remarks, saying, we do not seek conflict with Iran. We don't seek escalation with Iran. But the strikes that we took last night were intended to send a very clear message that we will take the protection of our personnel seriously and that we will respond quickly and decisively if they are threatened. Renewed violence imperils de-escalation attempts. The attack and retaliation pose threats to recent negotiations aimed at de-escalating tensions across the Middle East. Earlier this month, Iran and Saudi Arabia agreed to restore diplomatic ties in a deal brokered by China, raising questions about whether U.S. influence in the region is at risk of being overshadowed. The U.S. has had ground troops in northeastern Syria since 2015 when it was fighting the Islamic State. Syria's civil war, which erupted in 2011, has morphed into a wider proxy conflict that includes U.S. forces supporting Kurdish fighters and Iran supporting militants. Austin said that Thursday's retaliatory airstrikes were not just a response to the most recent drone strike, but also to a series of recent attacks against coalition forces in Syria. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has launched an estimated 78 attacks on U.S. forces in Syria since January 2021. U.S. Army General Michael Eric Kurilla, who had Central Command, told the U.S. House Armed Services Committee on Thursday. The U.S. Central Command, which was formed in 1983 to monitor Iranian expansion, has raised alarm about the expansion of Iran's military strength. The country's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a paramilitary group that reports to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, relies on proxy militia groups throughout the region. In recent comments to the U.S. House Committee, Guerrilla said that deterring Iran is arguably more urgent than at any time in CENTCOM's history because the IRGC is able to arm those proxy groups with increasingly sophisticated weapons like uncrewed drones, as well as ballistic and cruise missiles. Iran has sold advanced drones to other nations, including Russia, for use against Ukraine. Iran possesses the largest and most diverse missile arsenal in the Middle East, Kurilla said. Even more concerning, Iran has advanced its nuclear program such that Tehran can now produce sufficient fissile material for a nuclear weapon in less than 14 days. What actually happened? President Joe Biden was briefed on the attack on U.S. personnel while aboard Air Force One on his way to Canada, U.S. officials said. Biden ordered the airstrikes, which the Pentagon called a proportionate response. More than 12 hours after the attack, two F-15E Strike Eagles assigned to Air Force Central, or AFCENT, launched a nighttime strike against two IRGC-affiliated facilities in eastern Syria at around 2:40 a.m., which Biden later described as sites used for munition storage and command and control. The Pentagon said the F-15s took off from a base in the CENTCOM region but did not specify exactly which one. Be prepared for us to act forcefully to protect our people, Biden said in Ottawa, March 24. The U.S. launched the airstrikes not only because of the casualties suffered March 23, but because that incident was part of a series of recent attacks against coalition forces in Syria by groups affiliated with the IRGC, Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin III said in a statement. Around 900 U.S. forces are in Syria, assisting local groups in a battle against ISIS militants. These precision airstrikes are intended to protect and defend U.S. personnel, Austin said. The United States took proportionate and deliberate action intended to limit the risk of escalation and minimize casualties. That did not end matters. Iranian-backed groups retaliated with 4 attacks on U.S. sites in Syria after the U.S. airstrikes. The first of those 4 took place at Green Village in northeastern Syria at about 8:05 a.m. local time, March 24, the U.S. military said. According to CENTCOM, the rockets missed Green Village by around 5 kilometers and caused significant damage to a local house and injured 4 civilians, including 2 children. Kurilla said during his congressional testimony that Iran of today is exponentially more militarily capable than it was even 5 years ago, fielding the region's largest drone and missile force. What Iran does to hide its hand is they use Iranian proxies to be able to attack our forces in Iraq or Syria, Kurilla said. John Kirby, the Strategic Communications Coordinator for the National Security Council, did not say whether there would be more U.S. airstrikes in response to the additional militia attacks. We're going to see where this goes, Kirby said on CBS's Face the Nation March 26. I'm certainly not going to rule out additional U.S. action if the president deems it appropriate.